Rangers beat the Caps 4-3 in Game 2. They take a 2-0 series lead, a chance to sweep in Washington. But this overall, a much more competitive and a much tougher game than the first one 2 days ago. Washington gets the first goal of the game. That's something that they've been talking about for a while. Spencer Carberry talked about wanting to get on the board first. They do that. They set the tone, a 1-0 lead. They set the tone with their play, driving play offensively. Felt like they had tilted the ice a little bit to start the first, but they can't keep the Rangers down. The Rangers end up getting 2 goals to take a 2-1 lead in the first period. First, it's Trocheck, a sick feed from Gustafsson, and then it's Zibanejad in the power play. So the Rangers feel like they've turned the tide a little bit at the end of the first period. Caps would come back to tie it in the second period with the power play goal by Strome, but then the Rangers get another power play and they go right back, and this time it's Jack Roslovic. This is a guy that, after game 1, when people were talking about if Philip Hughes was going to come back and who's going to get scratched, a guy that's name was getting brought up was Jack Roslovic. Deadline acquisition, a guy that was brought on to play alongside Mika and Kreider, has kind of gone unnoticed throughout most of that stretch, quietly having a pretty good postseason. Gets a point in the first game, gets a really sick goal in today's game, and the Rangers end the second period about as good as you can. We talk about this PK and its ability to shut down Washington. We also have to talk about its ability to create offensive chances. Mika strips Ovechkin in the neutral zone. It leads to a 3-on-2, and Keandre Miller finishes it. A sick goal. Rangers are up 2 going into the third. Washington makes things interesting in the last 10 minutes. Tom Wilson deflects a goal. Public enemy number 1 here at MSG. Deflects a goal and to cut the lead to 1 with about 8 to go. And really from then on, Washington offensively surges. They drive play, they control puck possession in the O-zone, but the Rangers withstand and they come away with a tough 4-3 win. When you compare Game 1 to Game 2, I think you see a step up in the physicality of play. This feels like a real playoff game. You got a ton of hits, a ton of chippiness, TJ Oshie getting in the mix of everything, hitting everyone. Artemi Panarin lays a huge hit, knocks Oshie out of the game for a little bit. Spotters had to pull him because Panarin lays a big hit, but we had a little bit more fighting, a little bit more scrums. Just felt like overall there was a little bit more of an edge to this game, and the Rangers are able to meet that demand and play physically. I think the big thing here is Washington really can't keep the Rangers down, right? They set the tone early, they start strong. Carver even says, they start about as well as they really wanted to in terms of dictating the tone and coming out strong offensively, but they just can't keep the Rangers down. And that's the thing. This offense surges back. They keep them in games. And that's going to be a big thing going into Washington. Now they'll be on home turf. They'll have their fans behind you, but you have this Ranger team with a ton of momentum. We're looking at Washington. Ovechkin struggled through 2 games. The strip in the neutral zone, that's probably a play that you look at as maybe a game decider. If that turnover doesn't happen, maybe the Rangers don't win that game, but Ovechkin just hasn't looked like himself through these first 2 games. Rangers have really neutralized him.
I thought the first 2 games looks a little bit off. He's struggling. I mean, it's hard. Like, it's the playoffs on the road. He's getting a tough matchup. So he's, but I mean, it's 2 games, right? We're going back home now. We'll get an opportunity to be able to control the matchup for him, and he can flip it. Like, that's one thing about he can flip it in 1 game, and now he can all of a sudden be a difference maker and help us win a game or be a driver in winning us a game on home ice.
And they haven't had to worry about a ton offensively outside of Ovechkin. Strome has a nice play today, but again, there's not a ton there offensively for Washington that really scares you. In terms of the Rangers, I think Mika's line takes a big step today. Mika, Kreider, Roslovic. Roslovic gets the goal on the power play, but we key in that first line. I just thought they looked a little bit sharper today in terms of the way they played, the way they were able to create chances. The third line still looks good. Panarin's line obviously does its thing. I think the quietest line, honestly, was the fourth line, which is a dramatic shift from what we saw in the first game with the way that Rempe, Goodrow, and Vesey played. Goodrow's awesome on the PK today, and so is Vesey for that matter. Maybe a little bit of a quieter game for Rempe, but I think Mika's line takes a little bit of step up in the way that they play. Keandre Miller has an awesome game. He's physical, obviously he has a goal, but he just made plays that pairing with him and Schneider has been great.
I mean, he's the type of player that can bring everything. He can bring the physicality, he can bring the good defense. He can jump into a hole and find the right offense as well at the right time. He's got size, he's athletic, he can skate, he can make a good first pass. There's a lot of things that he can bring to the table. And again, I just think it fits in on the balance of our back end, and You had mentioned the depth, and that's a good thing this time of year. But he certainly played a heck of a game for us tonight.
I thought Trouba had a pretty solid game. Trouba and Lindgren get out there at the end when we're talking about the Caps' late surge. Caps pull their goalie. They pull Lindgren with 2:40 left in the game. Lindgren and Trouba get stuck out there for the majority of that time, and they're able to withstand that surge. And so I thought, for long stretches, sharp defensive play, and maybe a little sloppy in the beginning for the Rangers, but they really step up and play a tough game. If anything, I think we're in store for a couple tough games in Washington. Rangers have 2 days off. They play Friday. That'll be Game 3. And they have a dominant lead in the series right now, but Washington showed a lot of life today. So I think you have to brace yourselves for it's going to be a tough game. When you especially go into Washington, they're going to have the home fans behind them. This is not a team that wants to go out quietly. I'm not sure they have the talent to compete over a long series, but they might be able to steal a game. Nonetheless, the Rangers have a chance with 2 strong road games to sweep in 4 and do so on the road. So keep eyes on that. Back in action, Game 3 is Friday. One last thing I should say, the PK continues to be awesome. Yes, they let up a power play goal, but man, the Rangers PK looks like it's in tip-top shape right now. Rangers win 4-3, 2-0 series lead. Back in action Friday. Lou Orlando, WFU Sports. Take care, everybody.